Welcome everyone to Link to the Past 2022 Randomizer Tournament. We've got a match for you. I'm sure a lot of you are still here from Zelda versus blanking on it, but the match that just happened just before this. I'm Esmar. I'm joined in the booth by How Are You Start. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Esmar. Really happy to be here, especially for an intriguing match that has a lot of interesting playoff possibilities. How are you on this evening?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, looking forward to this. We've got open keys, so all those keys are gonna be throwing a wrench into the standard open routing. We're gonna have to find some of those. So yeah, hopefully they give us a good match tonight.
Absolutely. I mean, this is Group A in the main tournament. It's been exceptionally close between all of these racers. A lot of playoff possibilities, as we mentioned earlier. WallKicks enters at 3-1, chance to lock down the top seed in his group, but the possibility also still exists of a four-way tie at 3-3.
Yeah, lots of playoff implications. This is a tight group here. Just a reminder of for any newcomers, the format: we've got group stages, which is 4 players. They face off against each other, two matches against each opponent. Top 2 proceed to brackets, but it looks like we're getting started here. Not both opting to start. We got one Sank start, one Link's House start. That flute is really nice. Kaesden's gonna wish that he started at Link's House.
Absolutely. Early mobility is outstanding, and also just one fewer thing to have to do when you go to Kakariko, as Kaesden's doing. But I'm sure he'll get to it sooner or later.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna add up too much, but it's gonna feel a little bit bad to go through CAC and then find your flute, because the next thing you want to do after getting the flute is go straight to Kakariko. So it's gonna lose a little bit of time early on to that. We do find our first big key. It's Tower of Hera. We haven't seen a map check yet, so we don't know if that's a pendant dungeon or crystal dungeon.
And with keys, I believe that we have the maps and the compasses shuffled too, right? So an early map check might be difficult.
Yeah. With the maps and compasses shuffled, you do not know which dungeons have which prizes. So everything is on the table until you start pulling those maps up.
It does look like we have a little bit of convergence up in the woods, prior to both racers eventually heading to CAC.
Yeah, Kaesden sees that compass, not interested. Neither is WallKicks, and both going to drop down and get our bow in the forest cave here.
That's another outstanding find early in a race like this.
Yeah, especially since this is not one of those modes where you do start with the sword, so having something to dispatch enemies is pretty important. It's one of those things, if your sword doesn't show up for a while, if you don't get a weapon, then you might be forced to do some things that you're usually not used to doing without a weapon. I know a race I commentated the other day, our first weapon was in the Dark Cross in Hyrule Castle escape, so it was a forced logical bomb escape. Which, yeah, so having a bow takes that off the table, which is really nice for these runners. But we are getting into the meat of Kakariko here with Blind's hideout.
Extra bombs, early 300 rupees. You're not going to turn your nose up on that early in a seed.
Yeah, for a brief moment there, we had a nice amount of rupees there. But yeah, getting rupees early is pretty fantastic, because you don't want to end up in one of those things where you have to. It's like, I'd really love to fake flipper up to Zora just to get it out of the way, but I barely have enough. That's probably not going to be a huge draw unless we see the Moon Pearl, because that puts those waterfall checks. I mean, it doesn't put them in logic, but allows us to look at them.
Kaesden finding the map to Hera, so we might be finding out whether that big key is a little more helpful than we thought.
Yeah, one of the things in Key Sanity that can sometimes throw a wrench into things, more in AD keys. Oh, we do find our sword there on the bottle vendor. Both runners picking that up. But when you do have to do all dungeons, sometimes you have to worry about whether or not you need to go into Ganon's tower for an item you need. But given that the pendant dungeons are not going to be required, GT mode is not going to be a concern for these runners.
That's an excellent point.
Yeah, we only want to know which dungeons have crystals and which do not. But given that the maps are can be inside the dungeons, it's sometimes hard to know that ahead of time. So we might be seeing a lot of blind dips into dungeons. You don't have that knowledge ahead of time to plan out. Okay, do I do an early Eastern dip, or do I leave it till later? Pendant pod is more of a mystery than it usually is.
Absolutely, and especially with the maps and compasses mixed in, it offers a potential for 2 more items each check. So
yeah, a dungeon like Skull Woods all of a sudden goes from a measly 2 items that you kind of hoped some of them are in the front to a full-fledged just 4 or 5 checks in the front. I can't even recall how many there are, but it really flips the script on some of those usually item poor dungeons. Misery Mire is another one, even though its entry requirements are a bit higher. And there's WallKicks activating that flute. Kaesden gets the bad news.
and probably heading off to activate that flute right now.
Yeah, and that's the problem with finding it there is, I mean, when you find the flute, there's literally no other choice. The fastest choice is to go and activate it right away. Just drop everything you're doing. Especially if it's in a location like that. It's like, well, okay, you can walk to another check, but you're eventually going to have to make this run to CAC and activate it. So this is all lost time for Kaesden here.
And few things feel worse than picking up a flute in the middle of a bunch of checks and forgetting to activate it and trying to play the song and there's no bird to be found.
Yeah, that's why most trackers definitely have a function to check off whether or not you've activated the flute. It's a minor detail, but one that definitely matters in a heated race scenario. You don't want to forget whether or not you actually got duck privileges.
It looks like we have both runners converging once again down in at the dam at the very least, see if they continue to South Shore. And magic powder found after draining the water.
They are syncing up a little bit down here, but notably Kaesden, after getting that flute, decided not to carry it up through Uncle. So when we do finally see Kaesden do those 2 Uncle chests, it's probably going to be when he's deciding to go down to do Escape, if I had to guess.
And that would make the most sense. And WallKicks opting to flute out to the desert, finding not really much on the ledge, and perhaps Agina has something for us for once.
Yeah, this is kind of I don't want to say a risky play, but it's more of a long shot play, because these are checks that it's a lot more obvious to do what Kaesden's doing here, because there's 5 checks really easily in the back, and you can carry it forward into Ice Rod Cave, maybe do fake flippers. Item density, Kaesden's route is sort of the more preferred, but on the other hand, most of the time you see people put off those desert checks for a really long time, and if it's something important, if you check it early, you can get an early advantage, but not much there. We are finding the hammer in Mini Moldarm Cave.
We're also seeing a major advantage of having that flute very early in the seed, able to quickly traverse Hyrule rather than walk all over the place.
Yeah, and that's another reason that you do see that Agina play a lot of the time when you get early flute, because it really lowers the barrier of entry for that check. It's a lot less of a... You don't have to waste nearly as much time going for it as you do otherwise. Some people will even do it without the flute. They'll do dam into Agina, but that's a lot less common. But we do see both runners heading to Ice Rod Cave here. Kaesden not opting to do the fake flippers. Deciding now to go and do the desert, which again makes sense. The other option here is either doing Escape or Eastern Palace, because we're still kind of hunting for Dark World access here. It is worth noting that we can't just go into dungeons that we have the items to clear, because again, those keys are shuffled. So in dungeons where the big keys are actually hard required to get to the back, Eastern Palace being one of them, we're not in any rush to go to Eastern Palace, even though we do have the bow.
WallKicks given us the early magic bat drop down, which is not always something you see this early in the seed.
Yeah, the powder and hammer showing up sort of right next to each other is, it's a decent gamble. Hey, maybe it's pointing in this direction. And it is.
Wow.
Yeah, and we see Kaesden doing the same thing. Again, it's kind of just a coverage thing, because this is easy to put off, but maybe it's a difference in keys too, where all of a sudden, the fact that you need to get keys makes dipping Eastern early a bit less attractive. I'm not entirely sure, but we do see both players getting their flippers and WallKicks heading in on those checks.
And with this seed being so money rich early on, they can both pay off Zora when they head up to that area as well.
Yeah, I feel like the flute is kind of a major factor in deciding to do that magic bat check right away here. Without the flute, you're sort of a lot more limited into where you can get to quickly. You'd be using save and quits. With the flute, you can just sort of fly right on back to Kakariko and do that quick, just to get it out of the way. We haven't seen much from the flippers check so far.
That is an excellent point you make about being able to clear these small one-off or two-off checks too, because those are the kind of things, as you said earlier, that can linger over you as the seed goes on, and to just be able to get them out of the way, and once we eventually find progression, these runners can focus on that.
Yeah, especially in keys where all of a sudden you have a couple more barriers to entry. You need to find those big keys. You need to find Swamp Small before you can even get past the front door, really. So there's the weight of any single isolated check is definitely a bit different than it is without key sanity in play.
And these flipper checks came up pretty much empty. A quick little check of the island, but not much to be found here.
Yeah, curious to see. We see WallKicks heading over towards Eastern. Curious to see if Kaesden decides to do Escape or not. Because with those two Uncle checks looming, the value of that is a little bit stronger, although it's not exactly the quickest set of checks. That hookshot showing up is mighty interesting. I imagine we see WallKicks go straight up the mountain with that. With the hookshot and the hammer, we do have access to Hera, which we did get the big key to earlier. And we also get information on Ice Palace. It is the green pendant.
We see both runners going to save the man in the cave in the dark, which for runners of this skill, not terribly challenging. It's a map to Hyrule Castle. Not the most useful.
I could argue it's probably the least useful. Yeah, WallKicks heading up this side of the mountain first. So you can check the information here. We do see a glove there. That is, we need to see the mirror first, so. Chances are pretty decent that we do find the mirror on East Death Mountain here. Now, despite getting that map for Hera, we actually haven't seen the runners actually check what it is yet. I imagine we'll probably see that before they head in. Alternatively, they might just decide to full clear the whole thing, just because they're up here and it's kind of convenient. Thieves Town big.
WallKicks coming up with the Master Sword as well. Wow, that was a loaded paradox wheel.
Yeah, I mean, lots of we got those big keys are pretty important. You're not super excited to see them in dungeons because you're usually guaranteed to get them, but in Key Sanity they're pretty important. And that big key to Eastern Palace, as well as the map, lets us know how soon we want to go over to Eastern, because now we can completely clear it. It's not completely logical, of course, without the lamp or a light source of some kind, but with the map, we know if we need to go there.
Yeah, from that quick check, it appeared as though it's a regular crystal on Eastern. I did not see what Hera was. You'll see in a second as WallKicks enters. And it's another crystal dungeon.
We see WallKicks preparing to set up for the Hera pot. And the pause buffering that explosion needs to be in a very precise position when it explodes. It's not going to be an option for Kaesden, as his bomb count is at 0. WallKicks gives up, decides to go up the normal way. Kaesden grabs the bomb from upstairs and is going to try to set up. He's got one bomb, he's got to make it count.
Interesting.
And Kaesden nails it first try as WallKicks finds a Turtle Rock small.
That's definitely not a small key that you turn your nose up on. I've had a few races in tournament play in which Turtle Rock smalls have helped swing things.
Yeah, Turtle Rock can be an interesting dungeon in Key Sanity, because there's a lot of progression that's kind of locked behind how many small keys you have, and if they're all dotted around and you've been missing them, then you may be missing access to an important item that's just a little bit further in than you can get with the number of keys. But WallKicks takes out Moldorm, as does Kaesden, and both runners will be getting their first crystal.
And the boots to go with it. Heck of a prize to find on Moldorm.
Yeah, if we see that, if we see the lamp show up, I wonder if they're gonna be. Actually, I think only one of our runners knows exactly what's on Lumberjack. Only one of our runners has seen the shovel there, so. But it's possible that that shovel is a necessary item. It's always fun to see the shovel show up before you get Dark World access, because that can open all sorts of fun implications for hard locked progression on that spot.
And Chad is pointing out that Kaesden didn't actually have the big key to Hera, so that Hera pot that he pulled off was actually necessitated.
Yeah. Ooh, wow, there's our second bow, and we have silvers. So yeah, no surprise, our runners are gonna head probably straight to Eastern Palace here. Actually, Kaesden might decide to do something else, or I guess kind of forgot that he can fly there. I'm not an exhaustive encyclopedic, you know, Sherlock Holmes about everything linked to the past, but I'm pretty sure it's slower to walk than to take the duck.
I would think so, but sometimes that could happen, especially early in the seed, or you never know.
Yeah, and right after you get the boots, you're like, oh great, I can go fast now, and you forget that you could go even faster. But
Absolutely.
Regardless, both runners in Eastern Palace.
And there's the military.
Yeah, that Moon Pearl gives us official Dark World access. So, we're not going to be required to do Aga for that reason, but you've got that shovel looming. It could come into play at some point. And as mentioned before, the fact that we have all of these small keys scattered around and we need to sort of find more of these one-off checks means that those sort of one-off, you know, fetch quest items, they're a little scarier in keys because, you know, the number of things that can just be squirreled away somewhere is a lot higher than in a normal seed where you just kind of have to get the dungeons for check access and you're good to go. There are a number of small keys that could be in that dig spot that could be very impactful. If it's not hard to acquire it, it's probably not worth an entire Aga dip, but
For sure. And it's honestly, it's one of those things where you get to the end of the seed pretty much and you start clearing a whole bunch of stuff and then you start coming back to the, well, maybe that shovel.
yeah. The Ice Rod Hunt could be Swamp Small Hunt, could be any number of things. But we're very set in terms of mobility options in this seed. We've got the flute and boots right away. We've got the mirror, so you have a lot of leeway in how you can decide to route the Dark World once they decide to hop in, probably shortly after clearing this here.
And with Silver Arrows, the Armos Knights, they're not going to be around for very long.
Yeah, definitely equalizing what could be a potential, speed difference. If you're good at the regular fast strats, that boss can be pretty quick. If you don't know it, it can take a few extra cycles. Silvers take that out of the equation. It's pretty much a formality. So it looks like WallKicks is going to head straight to pod. I don't dislike this.
It does feel a little bit strange to be playing a Key Sanity seed and only have one pod small.
You don't have the small keys, but you do have access to that bow locked side, and you can make a dip and clear out the front. And maybe there's quite a bit of good stuff in the front, because again, in normal pod, regular non-key sanity, 4 of the 6 chests in the front are guaranteed to be small keys. Now, we don't have access to all of those with just 1 key, but we can get to a lot of it, and they could be anything. So it's a very item-rich dungeon up front in Key Sanity.
Oh, and Kaesden finding the Titan's Myths in Hype Cave and the Lamp.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I feel like WallKicks is maybe forgotten a little bit that this is Key Sanity. I'm not so sure about just burning that small key right up front there. I'm not a big Key Sanity player myself, so I don't know if maybe that is a fine play. I feel like you'd prefer to take the shortcut and go around the long way, but Kaesden also picked up information on the 5-6 crystals from that NPC in the bomb shop there. I did miss it though, so.
I believe it was Turtle Rock and Desert. Which is ready.
But yeah, WallKicks burning that 1 key in the front certainly maximizes the amount of the front of pod he can check in a very short amount of time. So if he does come across another pod small, as Kaesden finds a TR small, and WallKicks does, there's another pod small, so he can actually continue on and check the back.
There so often seems to be pod smalls within pod.
Kaesden coming up big with a lot of these items here. He's got the mitts and Samaria already. That puts... We don't have a medallion, but that puts us 1 item away from being able to dip into Mire, which is pretty crazy, less than half an hour in.
Absolutely.
And meanwhile, WallKicks pulls the Fire Rod out of Palace of Darkness, so it's kind of a point in this route's favor, is he's going to have that already when he's getting to Skull Woods, which I think we've seen 2 Skullwood Smalls, which should be enough to actually go and clear the dungeon, if I'm not mistaken.
WallKicks setting up a bomb jump across the gap to get into the dark maze.
Yeah, we do know these checks are actually in logic, because WallKicks doesn't have the lamp yet, but it is freely available in Hype Cave, as I'm guessing he's going to find out soon. No, no, maybe not. Right, yeah, I did misspeak. I am going to be doing that throughout this seed. I'm going to be forgetting about key logic and what things are logically available and what are not. But yeah, you definitely are supposed to have quite a few pod smalls before you get over there. Well, there is a Skull Wood Small, along with something else in the back there. I'm drawing a blank. I saw it. What it was? It was the full heart.
I think WallKicks found Bombos.
Oh yeah, Bombos. That's it. I was like, I know I noticed it, but I instantly forgot what it was. Now, I don't recall where, the Thieves Town Big was. We did already get that, correct? With both runners?
Yeah, I don't have that written down, but I don't recall where it was.
I want to say it was in, it was really early on in Blind's Hut or something, but, see, I don't think we saw Kaesden go in there. Paradox Cave, that's right, yeah. So, okay, I guess Kaesden left his portal there, so he was planning on going right back into, Village of Outcasts.
That's another upshot of, again, though, of having all of these mobility options and the Mire early. Kaesden's able to completely clear out the smith chain and the pegs. Just fewer things that are on the side that, if you can get these items to get you access deep into dungeons, you can put the focus there.
Yeah, interestingly, Kaesden does see the pod big key. And the ice rod, but the pod big key means that if there's something in that big chest, WallKicks is gonna have to go back for that. Get that at a later time. That is notably Ice Rod Hunt off the table.
It's nice to find Thieves Town within Thieves Town. One fewer thing to have to worry about there too.
Yeah, and that's definitely one of those things about key sanity that you can't rely on being able to full clear a dungeon when you go in. Double dips are a lot more common than they are in your everyday bog standard run of the mill seed. And that being an example why that small key is always there in a standard seed, but you really can't afford to forego all of the items in a dungeon like Thieves Town just because you can't get the one small key. So you sometimes have to bite the bullet and hope you don't have to come back later.
Kaesden now with a tempered sword in Thieves Town, so the seed continues to give early on.
Yeah, WallKicks doing much the same same strategy as Kaesden, getting these overworld checks cleared out efficiently before really diving into any dungeons. Again, you want to do that to increase the odds of you finding, any small keys that you might need to completely clear out the dungeons before you just dive in.
How much?
Not much,
Yeah,
not much showing up.
We get a little blind check as to whether Thieves Town was a pendant or crystal as Kaesden heads into the fight with blind.
Yeah, WallKicks actually abandoning that portal and heading to Mire area. Perhaps wondering if it's maybe if Mire is Bombos, it's potentially full clearable.
Looked from that quick check as though it was ether.
Yeah, and we have all 4 swords.
Wow.
They've all shown up.
Turns out Thieves Town is yet another crystal.
Yes, we're making pretty good time here. Early game, 35 minutes in, and we've got 3 crystals checked off for Kaesden, 2 for WallKicks. Soon to be 3, as WallKicks might need a small key here. Well, we'll be able to finish the dungeon. Does have the option to steal a key to check the right side. Doesn't look like that's going to be the play just yet.
We have the big to desert.
Ah, it's true. I kind of felt like we saw it, but maybe I was confusing that with the Hera big. I'm gonna be tripping over key sanity this whole race. I'm just gonna warn everybody ahead of time.
Definitely an easy thing to do. I've walked into many a dungeon thinking that it was playing normal mode, and then oops, walk out.
And we do see WallKicks heading towards Skull Woods here. With a early knowledge of where that fire rod is, probably going to go straight to the back.
Yes, the Hera small, everyone's favorite small key.
Yeah. Could mean that we are required to go back up the mountain, but we'll see. Kaesden, meanwhile, heading up to Dark Death Mountain to get those checks out of the way, those myths granting him access to all of these.
Also get a quick look to see the Medallion for Turtle Rock.
Yeah, how many Turtle Rock smalls have we seen? What does it mean for us if we see Bombosing around Turtle Rock? So we've seen both rods.
You've seen them, but Kaesden, fire is in Pod, I believe. Kaesden is yet to go there.
Does look like it is Bombos, unless that was Ether. It looked like Bombos.
So my guess would be.
Now, do you know offhand how many pod smalls minimum are required to get to the end of Thieves Town? Not Thieves Town, Turtle Rock.
I do not. I know that there are 4 smalls to the dungeon, but you might not need the one to go to lava chest. So I'm sure chat knows far more though.
Yeah, if you can steal one, but yeah, it's possible that we could see an early play. WallKicks rewarded with the red pendant for clearing Skull Woods. Meanwhile. Kaesden making a relatively risky run here. Not a lot of health for this. Yeah. Just barely not enough hearts.
It's tough.
Yeah, one more would have done it.
Given that it was wrapping up his mountain checks there, I can see at least giving that a shot though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I noticed, I did miss this happening, but I do notice that WallKicks picked up Ether at some point as well. Notably before heading to the... Well, no, not before heading to the Mire area, because he was the one who was in Desert earlier, but... was that in the back of Skull Woods, or somewhere in the front?
I actually missed it.
Kaesden gives the hover a shot, decides to bomb across. WallKicks getting that shovel knowledge. Shovel on Lumberjack.
WallKicks knocking out some of the boots checks here, finding the map to Mire, one of the few dungeons we don't know whether they're crystal or pendant. Only one pendant still outstanding.
Yeah, and there's usually only 2 items again in Mire, but with all of those various small keys being replaced with item checks, we might see a dip here in sometime in the near future. Yeah, and it looks like Kaesden must have not, since we didn't see Ether, must have been in the back of Skull Woods, so. Now 2 medallions now down compared to WallKicks.
And that fire rod coming out of checking out pod early, paying off a little bit for WallKicks here.
And it looks like we're going to be paying a visit to one of my personal favorite checks in the game. I have a fondness for catfish. I don't often check it, so it feels like I'm visiting an old friend every time I actually have to go there.
I find that if I pay attention to catfish, he's got nothing, and if I leave him to the end, he's got the most important item in the world.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice, you know, because if you're last locationing on catfish, you know, you both get to reunite with an old friend and he helps you out. You know, it feels very wholesome to me. I don't know if most people feel the same way about it, but that's how I see it.
I'm gonna start viewing him in a new light after this.
He's just trying to help out. He gives us a compass. We're not interested, but good to see you all the same, buddy. Yes, right now it's looking like WallKicks is definitely a step ahead of Kaesden here. Not much Kaesden has seen that WallKicks hasn't. Other than we did get that Thieves Town clear that WallKicks hasn't done yet. WallKicks opted to leave that until later, maybe waiting on that small key. But we do see Hyrule Castle here from WallKicks.
Noting that Misery Mire might be the third and final pendant, which would make Pod and Swamp our last two crystals.
Yeah, with that Fire Rod showing up too, we have Fire Rod, Flippers, Mitts. And I think we might have seen the Ice Palace Big, which I think logically puts both of those dungeons in logic, keys notwithstanding, small keys. I think all of our pendants might be in logic or nearly so. Oh, unless Swamp is our last pendant. I just realized we've only seen confirmed 2 pendants. Correct? Or is Mire a pendant? Or did we see the map check?
The map check was quick. Chat saying that it's Mire.
Yeah, so that gives us Skullwoods, Ice Palace, and Misery Mire. But yeah, I imagine we're seeing Kaesden doing the same thing that WallKicks is doing. Going to have a slightly different detour into perhaps might not be going for the Uncle Checks just yet, because I don't think he's cleaned those up yet. But this makes sense. You do that overworld routing into Hyrule Castle, since you do have that mirror on hand. And even though that big key is not shuffled, not without drop sanity, we still, since we're in key sanity mode, we still get that courtesy text reminding us that yes, we did get the big key to this dungeon, so.
We see WallKicks heading back to the Village of Outcasts, possibly to gun Thieves Town on this occasion.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I also don't think he ever cleared Village of Outcasts proper. I think he took that entrance to Dark World, took it straight north. Because he didn't head back to Village of Outcasts after doing the Smith chain. Instead, he went and went off somewhere else. I don't exactly recall. He still hasn't turned in the bottle to Sick Kid here, so he's doing that now. Kaesden, meanwhile, continuing on to Dark Cross. Yeah, right now the big difference maker has been WallKicks pulling that fire rod out of pod, but given that really the only thing he got out of that was the ability to sort of full clear the back of Skull Woods while he was there, and it didn't exactly pay off. It's kind of up in the air still as to how much difference that really has made for him. We'll have to see if Kaesden, if it's worth checking the back of Skull Woods again for Kaesden if by the time he gets it, but we'll have to wait and see.
I mean, WallKicks was able to again clear a pendant dungeon and find a medallion to another pendant dungeon.
It's true.
So, it could loom large, you know. Again, peace sanity. You never know what's on the table.
Now, interestingly, Kaesden has pulled that. I believe Kaesden is the only one that knows that Turtle Rock is Bombos, as WallKicks hasn't gone back up to the mountain yet. And he might actually. No, he's not heading up there. He's just going here for the quick bird. But yeah, I don't imagine we'll see him think too hard about going to Turtle Rock until he finds that fire rod. He might be going to Ice Palace now with Bombos. Which isn't the worst play. You don't really need too much stuff in this dungeon if you've got the Cane of Samaria, so...
Absolutely, with Icebreaker and his player skill level, they can make very quick work of Ice Palace.
The animation for Bombos is quite a bit longer than the animation for Fire Rod, but Kaesden doesn't know where the Fire Rod is, so it's not a terrible, huge concern on his mind right now. Coming up on the first chest here in Ice Palace. That's something. It's actually not a terrible thing to find, honestly, given that we already have the flute. That's pretty trivial to turn in. Don't even have to worry about setting up a save scum for that if you want to, because we've already checked Magic Bat. Notably here, Kaesden is going to be able to route in the green pendant check with on his way to Palace of Darkness for the first time, which is something WallKick would have to go back to do. If that's an important item, it could make a difference. Most of the items that we're still going to be looking for at this point are going to be keys, because we're pretty much kitted to the teeth with items in terms of progression, what we can actually unlock.
Kaesden did find the third and final medallion, but it doesn't really hold much use today. Meanwhile, WallKicks is looking on the blind script pretty well early on.
Yeah, we're reaching the point in this race where I'm going to have to start leaning on our tracker in chat, because, like I mentioned, we're really just looking for keys at this point. We know where everything else is, and it's a lot less obvious from just looking at the tracker which small keys, or maybe it isn't. No, it is obvious. I'm just not used to reading it. I'm blind. I apologize for being blind, but yeah, we're just going to need to find keys for these dungeons, so... and again, those could be anywhere.
Yeah, the Swamp Small, definitely one that tends to loom large in key sanity races.
Yeah, with Crystal Pod being or Swamp being a crystal, we're going to have to. We may well have to scour the land for that small key before we can get in there. And both runners now doing different pendant dungeons. Kaesden just about finishing up with Ice Palace as WallKicks heads into Mire. You see how Kaesden handles Cold Stare.
Bombos and a gold sword. It's a pretty easy fight. And Kaesden makes it look that way.
Now, in terms of progression that we see from here, I'm imagining what would make sense to me is Kaesden taking that green pendant, going up to Pod, checking that out, and seeing the fire rod there. Probably might head up to Turtle Rock actually.
That would probably be in line with what I would think, especially with the knowledge that the Turtle Rock is a crystal.
And we see WallKicks checking the cutscene chest for 20 rupees, consolation prize, as Kaesden heading towards Palace of Darkness. And we're going to see what's on that green pendant shortly. Mire small. I don't think that's super necessary.
No,
I think,
not really.
yeah, WallKicks has everything he needs. So Kaesden will have one more small key than is strictly necessary.
WallKicks finding the big to Mire inside of Mire, which again, always helpful.
Yeah, again, this is a pendant dungeon, but we're getting close to something that smells an awful lot like a ped seed with all of this pendant dungeon access. Now, I've been my senses of when you can actually logically clear Ice Palace at this point have atrophied to the point where I'm not sure if that's in logic or not, but it certainly is very doable for each of these runners to get access to the pedestal. So notably, we're also going to see the big key chest, or not the big key chest, but the actual big chest in Palace of Darkness from Kaesden here, since WallKicks did not have the big key at the time. And very likely, we're also going to see a clear of the dungeon from Kaesden as well. I believe he's capable of full clearing it with just 3, if he does the hammer jump. And certainly, yeah, again, that 4th small key is definitely going to have everything he needs. And he did already open that front door. Okay, yeah, Kaesden is good. He's going to be full clearing Pod here, which is excellent news for him.
WallKicks heading on to take on Vidi with silver arrows, which another potentially tough boss fight made easy.
Yeah, the early armaments here in this seed have definitely made a lot of the boss fight execution relatively trivial. It's pretty much all the formality. It's which is kind of what you like to do when you're doing Key Sanity, because it sort of makes it more of a puzzle. It's, you know, it's like when you play a Pokemon game with all level 100s and you're you know, trying to take absolutely no damage and get every fight perfect, and you have all of the tools you need, and you just have to put the pieces together. But yeah, Kaesden going to be clearing out the back of pod. His WallKicks is going looks like he's going for the ped play, because he's going straight to that last pendant.
Very interesting. I could be wrong, but it looks like that's the only dungeon that's still left on the table for him that he can full clear. And as you said, it does have a bit of a smell for a ped suit.
Now, again, I could have sworn that I saw the pod big key show up at some point, but evidently I was mistaken, because I'm going to trust chat. But yeah, that's so Kaesden is going to be opening this chest, which we haven't seen yet. Probably not going to finish the dungeon unless the big key shows up in here. Yeah, I'm taking a look at that pause menu to see if you found it. And no, we actually haven't seen it show up, so making a liar out of me. Yeah, so Kaesden now making that Turtle Rock play, most likely. Unless something big is on Ped and WallKicks finds it here, Kaesden might actually be clawing back into an advantage here. Especially if a lot of good stuff shows up in Turtle Rock, but again, it's really hard to say with Key Sanity because some of those keys could just be anywhere.
Absolutely, a lot more items become one-offs in terms of being able to help you, and they could just be locked behind a whole bunch of series of progressions.
Yeah, like we could end up with a you know, a seed that has us find book on Ped for the last two big keys or whatever on the tablets. So you really can never rule anything out in Key Sanity.
As chat points out, shovel is still looming over the seed, sitting there.
Yeah, Kaesden definitely rocking the F-Zero soundtrack. I assume it's in an effort to go faster. Would seem to be logical.
Well, there's the desert big in Turtle Rock. So WallKicks gets the green medallion to complete his medallion collection. Pendant collection, I apologize.
Yeah, that big key's really nice to see for Kaesden. That's one more thing off the checklist. One step closer. And I wonder if we're going to see that ped check from WallKicks. Not quite yet. He's going to turn in that mushroom first. Kaesden getting a little flustered there, not entirely sure what to do with that those pegs. Tried to stay on the right side, ended up on the wrong side. As WallKicks is in fact giving us our ped check here. This is he's pretty all in on this, but it's definitely not as dangerous in Key Sanity. Again, like you do see generally more thorough play in Key Sanity. Maybe channeling that press your luck, big money, no whammies, a little too hard. Ends up pulling actual big money out of Ped. Not what you wanted to see, but hey ho, we go on. And meanwhile, it doesn't look like Kaesden got everything. Didn't get that fortuitous big key inside of Turtle Rock, so heading to Mire now, I imagine. Or no, Desert. We're gonna do Desert first, because we did get that big key.
He still does not have Ether in order to get into Mire.
True.
That is still on the fire locked side of Pendant Skull Woods.
Yeah, interesting to note if we keep getting deep into the seed and we're still in that swamp small hunt. I wonder, do we choose vanilla first or do we go lumberjack?
That's such a tough call.
You know, I've seen it where I've seen seeds where you get shovel in the first chest of swamp for small key in dig spot, which is basically the same thing with extra steps. But yeah, we'll see what's in the back of Desert Palace here. We get one item on the boss here for Kaesden.
WallKicks going to enter Turtle Rock. A fairly decent position key-wise.
Yeah, notably he does have that extra TR small compared to Kaesden, so may decide to go for Lava Chest, which Kaesden skipped in favor of keeping that key to go deeper in. Kaesden missing 2 shots on Landmos there. Gonna have a 3 cycle as that second cycle gives him a short jump.
So Kaesden does come through with crystal number 4, but the progression we're looking for is still a little bit elusive.
Well, now Kaesden is probably going to head to the back of Skull Woods here. And it'll be interesting to see what he ends up thinking when he pulls Ether out of there, and all of a sudden Ped is going to be on the table. He would have preferred to be in the position to pull Ped heading back here, like right afterwards, but unfortunately that's an impossibility in the seed.
And that really has the opportunity to just even this thing right back up, because WallKicks grabbing the desert big might wind up heading there if he can't find anything on, say, Lava Chest, and if Kaesden follows in WallKicks' footsteps and starts grabbing the pendants, which we know don't really lead to anything.
I mean, yeah, and it would make sense to do so at this point.
For sure.
Especially with how many checks there are just in Mire, it's a pretty logical next step to actually take here. The WallKicks approaching that lava chest.
And the lava chest comes up empty for us.
Kaesden about to pick up Ether Medallion here. Most likely no. Ether Medallion is in the other chest. I was taking a shot in the dark. 50-50. Does get that second pendant. Yeah, we're running low on the number of checks we can actually do.
I mean, there's definitely the Aga play for the shovel. There is Spike Cave, where I think it was Kaesden.
Yes, Spike Cave. It's true. We didn't see a successful play on that.
There's, as you noted earlier, the very first check of Swamp. Love that play.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where we as the viewers have seen more than each of these runners individually, so we're actually down to fewer checks, and knowing that if there isn't anything other than just those kind of hanging out, it's that WallKicks could maybe go back into pod for some of those checks that he missed. Right? Or no, I'm still, Man, I could have sworn that we saw the pod big key show up. Because I was thinking, oh yeah, we can check the big chest. Now I'm wondering why, when I was thinking that. It's very firmly in my brain here. But yeah, WallKicks is gonna go down here and clear desert out. To no particular gain other than the crystal. Regardless, it's probably going to be a little while before either of our runners decides to go for Aga or the first check of Swamp. There's a little bit left on each runner's plate that they have to clean up.
It's interesting, the Aga play feels like one of those strategic plays you might need to make. If you're thinking, maybe my opponent put this off earlier, and if it pays off big, but it's a really tough call. It's such a tough call.
Yeah, I think the only synergy that might end up being left on the table is doing Hera basement into Spike Cave. Those are sort of the only two checks that are still kind of grouped together. Yeah, WallKicks heading back towards Palace of Darkness, it seems. I wasn't paying super close attention when Kaesden was doing pod. I don't recall if he had enough keys to do this check here. Kaesden does pull that half magic out of the Misery Mire big chest.
I thought Kaesden was fairly thorough, but I don't remember the exact number of checks he managed to pull off at the end.
And that's definitely one of the tricks of Key Sanity. Shoutouts to Tofile, for doing the tracking on this, doing a bang up job.
Absolutely. No, Sanity's hard enough to track on its own, but with when you're playing, but when you're watching multiple players and trying to keep track of everything, it's really helpful.
We'll see where WallKicks decides to go next.
Making the swamp play?
I would imagine so. It's probably the quickest single check he can do. Swamp Palace, not one of those dungeons that requires you to have the big key to finish it, but in its place is that first small key. The Swamp Small Key is actually probably our biggest find at this point, because it opens up all of those chests in Swamp Palace. So if it ends up being vanilla here, WallKicks in for a treat. It isn't. Back up the mountain, I suppose.
Oh boy. That's the Aga dream deferred once again.
Ooh, maybe not. Kaesden might be doing that. Kaesden might be going up the castle tower to check those chests, because we can't go all the way up, can we? We haven't seen both castle tower keys, have we?
I believe in this mode that they're actually in their vanilla location.
Oh yeah, they're vanilla. That's right. I'm still working on like 2-year-old knowledge before they decided to throw everybody that bone, which I think, you know, not a terrible choice.
I believe for the inverted keys, though, they are mixed into the pool.
Yeah, and definitely that's one of the reasons that all Dungeons Key Sanity sort of gained popularity, because otherwise you needed to find those castle tower keys for maybe one check in that chest that Kaesden just opened there. If you've got to do all the dungeons anyway, it kind of changes the way that you do your checks. You have to be more thorough. You're more likely to run into them. It's a little bit less annoying, but yeah, having a castle tower be vanilla here is definitely a boon. Kaesden is making that long shot play that he needs to grab that shovel, so tune back in a couple minutes here and we'll see what Kaesden finds.
And it's a potentially huge play, and for Kaesden in this match, this is for him a must-win match. He's 2-3 entering this game. He's got two opponents in the pool, including WallKicks, who already have 3 wins in the bank. He needs a win to get himself a shot at a playoff of some sort.
Yeah, for sure. He hasn't done the ped yet either, so he's definitely got to dig deep for any one of these checks. WallKicks is sort of the one who's sort of following a trail of breadcrumbs, as far apart as they may be. Kaesden here is kind of looking for solace right now. Yeah, a banger alert from Kaesden's stream there. WallKicks finds the big key to pod behind that TR big.
Makes 2 big keys, I believe, that have already been found in Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and that's just key sanity for you, especially with the dungeon like Turtle Rock with all sorts of like progressive unlocking based on small keys. There's potential for a silly amount of back and forth. WallKicks showing us Laser Bridge here. And that is a 0 for Laser Bridge. We'll see what's on Trinex, as Kaesden is probably going to grab that shovel off of Lumberjack and head over to the Pedestal if I had to wager.
It makes the most sense routing-wise, and we're even with finding that pod big. I mean, we're still funneled a little bit in terms of specific locations where things can be at the moment.
Yeah, it's right now it's kind of down to where that Swamp Small shows up. If Kaesden finds it on a dig spot with that shovel, that's going to be all of a sudden all of this dungeon progress that WallKicks is getting here is going to kind of come to naught here. But it could also be about to fall from the sky on top of WallKicks' head here, so we'll see. It's 2 big zeros, it looks like.
Ooh, nothing on shovel after all that.
It doesn't even pick up the heart container.
I mean, with Kaesden still doing a ped check that we know isn't gonna, unfortunately for him, yield anything. You know, WallKicks has the opportunity now to go back to pod, finish that one off with his 6 crystal, and see what's on Helmosaur.
This F-Zero MSU is fire. It's so fire. Like, you almost don't mind pulling ped for that. But yeah, WallKicks definitely in a really good spot here. Getting all of that sort of funneled progression is like, well, at least he gets one more thing he can do, one more thing. Until that Swamp Small shows up, we're kind of in the dark, but looks like that's going to be our last thing. So at the very least, we're probably going to have a go mode Swamp here once it finally does show up.
with WallKicks clearing Turtle Rock too, he now has both of the red crystals, so that should open up Pyramid. That's another 2 check.
Kaesden's gonna have to pull it out in one of these checks here, if he wants to. If he wants to make this up, because if he does pull it in like one of these next few checks, then that's going to take him to Swamp. He can clear it, get the Turtle Rock Big Key, and kind of be on track. But if WallKicks pulls it, that's terrible news for Kaesden.
Absolutely.
We'll see what WallKicks gets in just a second here. Yikes.
Boy.
That is a yikers.
And that puts WallKicks in pretty commanding position.
Ooh, yeah, and that's probably the worst thing Kaesden could have pulled there is the book, because that's going to extend this wild goose chase. It might lead him to Swamp Palace, but WallKicks is going to have to perform very poorly to give this up at this point now. Only one key left to go, or one crystal left to go.
And he can go mode Swamp. Pretty overpowered terms of weaponry.
Yeah, now is the GT is that also the GT big? Is that in Ganon's tower, or have we seen that? Yeah. Okay.
Smalls are
like
scattered.
Right. Okay.
I believe.
Yeah, we have seen several of the smalls, but at this point in the scene, I'm like, okay, we haven't seen the big key show up. I mean, it could be vanilla by chance, but so it's just another kind of courtesy thing for these runners. It's kind of nice to not have to go on a GT big key hunt in the entire world rather than just the basement. So. Welcome to SpeedGaming 5, party of 155. We are reaching the end. Well, we're approaching the end here of this seed, WallKicks versus Kaesden. Kaesden, unfortunately, in a really bad position as WallKicks ended up finding the Swamp Small on Helmasaur King, with the big key to get to that in Turtle Rock, with the big key to get to that in the first chest of Swamp Palace, which Kaesden is putting off like his life depends on it. Might be getting to it here, but maybe too little too late for Kaesden, as WallKicks definitely has a commanding lead here.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, as we said, checks were getting slim, and it was kind of a toss-up as to where you dip or where you go. And Kaesden made the Aga play, and unfortunately for him, it doesn't look like it's gonna pay off.
Yeah, I mean, and Kaesden made some. The plays Kaesden made were really defensible.
Absolutely.
You know, WallKicks' choice to go to Swamp Small here earlier. Again, it also made sense. It was a relatively quick check, but at that point, it was kind of, you know, pick one, see where it leads.
As Chad notes, to add a little insult to injury, Kaesden found Swamp big on the tablet, not the small.
Yeah, the key, it's just too big, it won't fit. And that's Kaesden finally on the trail. Too little too late, as WallKicks is already miles ahead here. A full 3 dungeon clears now. Has Trinex defeated, Helmasaur defeated, and now Argus defeated as Kaesden is approaching Turtle Rock. We would have to see an unprecedented poor performance from WallKicks in this final stretch of the game to see Kaesden come back from this. But we can, however, still have a little bit of fun here and see how long it's going to take WallKicks to find that GT big key.
Do you have a preferred number 1 through 22, Esmar?
I like to guess 3. And the reason for this, as some people may know, is I just once want to see somebody make that hope room right, hope room left, tile room, and find it right there. And if I guess 3, then the hope is alive that I just I can call that. Evidently, I think it actually happened once, and I wasn't there to see it, which made me extremely upset. But
that's disappointing.
But yeah, I'm going 3. I'm locking in 3.
Kind of like 21. I think it's kind of the funniest one. I have to deal with the actual tile room, but you get to do all the other fun things.
And one little thing I've always noticed about these stairs leading up to Ganon's tower is I think it's so funny that it's all stairs except for that part where you go under that little outcropping. Apparently it's just flat under there, but you just can't see it.
I never thought about it.
Okay, good. WallKicks isn't trying to please me, but still has his sanity intact and skips tile room. No reason to go for it at this point. And that's 6 checks so far. Anybody who guessed above 6, you're still in the running. Anybody who guessed 6 or below, you are unfortunately not winners this time.
WallKicks not even bothering with a straw bottle. On the move.
Number 9. That is our winner here. WallKicks heads up, armed with 4 GT small keys. More than enough to make it to the top. And okay, I'm not mistaken. The mail is still in the seed, right? Like it's still in the pool.
Yes, I believe so.
It's just all in the basement.
I guess. We want to keep a little of the open hard, you know, even if it's not actually in the rule set.
Yeah, it is. Kaesden with that green mail takes the full 4 hearts of damage there from the laser, and game's over at a. he didn't. Yeah, and of course he's go moding it, so he didn't take the halfway checkpoint. So he's got to start all over.
Oh, that's rough.
I mean, luckily for him, you know, luckily it doesn't make a difference. It's not going to cause him to lose the race. So just feels bad. The coldest of comfort.
WallKicks, meanwhile, having relatively little trouble with the gauntlet.
Yeah, again, 13 hearts and green mail with the Mire shield, silvers, full sword upgrades. It's going to be more than enough for WallKicks. WallKicks approaching the final floor here. Oh man, Kaesden gets got again. Gets 1.0'd on that yeah, yikes. I mean, you've got to resign yourself to it now, but yeah. You're starting to see it a little bit there. He was very afraid of that chain chomp.
That's rough, and especially the way the seeds played out, and he surely knows that WallKicks, a runner of his skill, is probably, you know, making some pretty good progress, and he's got to, if not make up some time, and at the very least try to keep pace. And
yeah, and you know it's got to be. You know it's got to be nerves a little bit, even the first time, because like you're trying to play fast. You have Mire shield, that should be all you need, but fully utilizing Mire shield to do laser bridge is slow. So you know you fall trying to go fast, and then just starts that downward spiral that you can't escape sometimes. So it's rough. These races are pretty intense, high pressure.
Absolutely, and you know the first time these two guys met, it was decided by less than 2.5 minutes. So. And for most of the seed, it was just about as tight. But WallKicks has made quick work of Aga 2, and it's now ready to drop down to Ganon.
Ganon lets us know that he would be a spicy barbacoa burrito.
Not even sure how that comes up in conversation.
I mean, really? I mean, you've never talked about that before with your enemies?
Very infrequently.
And WallKicks making brutally short work of this final boss. I guess he still does have that that potion there. I was wondering if maybe you're gonna see the beginning of the break that Kaesden would need.
That does it, though. And get your GGs in chat for WallKicks. Exceptional performance.
And that is a final time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 3 seconds. Very respectable. Definitely ended up taking the scenic route. Not as scenic as Kaesden, but very scenic nonetheless. And we are joined in the booth by the winner himself, WallKicks. GG's.
Hello, GG's.
GG's, WallKicks.
So on a scale of 1 to thank God, how glad are you didn't have to make the Aga play after all?
I mean, I was starting to think that that's what was going to have to bail me out at some point. You didn't have to step foot in a pendant dungeon this seed at all. You could have avoided all 3 pendants and, you know, probably sub 120 this if you just Galaxy Brain first just swamp. But of course, that's not a reasonable play. So you get your Fire Rod, you go do Skull Woods because it's, you know, Skull Woods isn't a bad play. You get your Ether, which gets you independent Mire, so you lean on that a little bit. So you get your big key to Mire, to pendant Mire, in Mire. And you're like, oh, well, now I'm committed. And then at that point, you're like, all right, well, I'm 2 pendant dungeons in deep, and I know I can full clear the 3rd one. Let's do that. And then you get nothing out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare in Key Sanity, too, for the barrier of entry to all of the pendant dungeons to not always come up above, you know, some of those other one-off checks that end up actually being it after all, because mathematically they're just as likely, but they take longer. So dipping pendant dungeons is almost always a better play in Key Sanity than one not accustomed to the mode might think at first glance. So
oh, for sure. And I never felt bad about the pendant, about dipping and going into pendants until they just came up empty, in which case I'm like, oh, this is unfortunate. Because again, it was, you get your Ether Medallion in pendant, in the back of pendant Skull Woods, which was locked by the Fire Rod, which I got early, because I made the early play into pod. And so when I was finished with my North Dark World route and finished up Hyrule Castle, I'm like, okay, let's lean into the early play I made that probably has given me a little bit of an advantage. But then, like I said, it just, you know, it was one of those, one pendant just leads to the next, which essentially just led to the next, and you're like, I'm too deep into this at this point.
Yeah. And I mean, with seeds like this, you know, it's always has that opportunity to sort of come down to the wire, because it was almost very close up until you decided to go to the front of Swamp, and Kaesden decided to put all the chips on everything else, kind of decided to go for the Aga play. And if that had gone the other way, or, you know, if that Swamp Small had been deeper in that and not on Helma, it was still anybody's race up until you got that Swamp Small off of King Helmasaur. So yeah, you can never rest on your laurels in these seeds.
No, and I mean, like, I don't hate that he took the Hail Mary and did Aga 1 for the shovel. That's not an unreasonable play after.
No, not at all.
We talked about it a little bit. I think he did it after all of the pendants, and so like if you've done 3 pendant dungeons for nothing, and you know Kaesden was facing elimination in this race, you know, you got to go for it. You have to make something. You know, you got to do something. And so, yeah, I don't blame him at all for the Aga 1 play. It didn't work out, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why we all love this game, right? Because it's not, you know, you're not just flipping coins at each other for 2 hours. You have to decide, okay, based on this, you know, the tournament format, the larger picture, Kaesden had to make that play. And and that's why it's so fun to play, so fun to watch, and thanks to both of you. Kaesden isn't going to be joining us for an interview, but you guys gave us a great race right up until you know, the last 10 minutes or so.
Until that blasted big key, which locked everything. Yeah. It's wild thinking like, man, I'm like 4 keys from go mode, and it's all just behind one of them that's in the first chest of Swamp Palace.
But yeah, Arya, do you have anything else to ask here?
I mean, again, congratulations, WallKicks. I mean, really, really great race. And for you, you know, you knew coming in, you controlled your destiny, and you know, you won the group as a result. And you still have one match left on the schedule, and it's another match in which your opponent needs it in order to potentially force a tiebreaker. Does that factor into how you were going to approach that race, or are you just going to keep coming at it the way you have been thus far?
I mean, I don't really change my approach to whoever I race at this point. I generally, I don't like talking about myself a lot, but I do like to think I am okay enough at this game to where, you know, as long as I'm kind of playing my game, more often than not, my opponent will kind of have to change their approach against me. But yeah, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to do anything different. I mean, I don't even know what the mode is going to be until right before the race. But Chelsea's a wonderful person, a wonderful opponent. She can hover, which is something I can't do. So I mean, if it's a hover seed, then you know she's going to be in great shape. I do apologize to everyone who was really hoping for chaos in this in our group, because had I lost these 2 races, we would have all been 3-3 with a 1-on-1 record against each other. And so there would have been a 4-person tiebreaker race, which would have been hilarious.
Yeah, that would have been something to see. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We are the last race of the night, but we've got plenty more coming for the rest of the week. We're starting bright and early. We've got some early restreams tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning for all you Americans, European time, it's some other time. I don't live over there, unfortunately, so I don't exactly know how it works. But stay tuned. We've got plenty more coming your way. Again, shout outs to everybody who makes these restreams happen. My co-commentator Arya Stark, Tofile. I should have double checked if I'm spelling that correctly, but on the tracker, and the restreamer, which I need to double check because they're not listed on the sign up page, but if I can double check it here, give me just a moment. Scupula, of course. The one and only. On the restream, making this whole thing happen. Good night, everybody in the US. Good whatever time it is, everybody else. I've been Esmar, signing off. We'll see you later.